Hi folks, this is Dr. Arbogast. I'm giving you a little video overview of the format and the directions for your upcoming Test 2 in Conservation Biology. That test will be on Monday, April 6th, and you'll be taking it online in Canvas. I'm going to give you sort of an overview of some of the technical aspects and then some of the guidelines for taking it online. So first of all, I wanted to remind you that under the April 1st class period on Canvas, I will have posted several things. One is this video. So you'll see where it says video comments on test 2 format, etc. will be posted soon. Excuse me. If you are viewing this video, then it's already been posted, so it'll say video, link to comments on test 2. Then below that, I will have some of the key points that I'm going to go over today. For you, those are already posted. They sort of go over the guidelines and the directions and so on for the exam. And then below that, you have your study guide for test 2. Again, this is all in the folder for April 1st. Your study guide basically is like the study guide for test 1, and it goes over sort of, what kind of things are going to be covered on the exam. Okay, how do you take a quiz or an exam on Canvas? In Canvas, exams or tests are called quizzes, or they're lumped under quizzes. So what I'm showing is a screenshot of the home page, which defaults to the syllabus page for conservation biology. And if you look at this column on the left of options, you'll see that syllabus is in black, and that's just denoting that that's where you are right now. That's your home page. But if you look right below that, where the red arrow is, there is a marquee for quizzes. So you just click on that, and that'll take you to any quizzes that you have. Now, you won't see any quizzes until I publish it, and you probably won't see any quizzes until the start time on April 6th for the test 2. So if you go there now, you're not going to see anything, or at most you might see a title for the quiz, but you won't see the quiz itself until the start time, which I'll go over in just a minute. But that's how you get to the quizzes, or in this case, the test, which is your test 2. Okay, so I want to walk you through some of the main points and some of your directions for taking test 2 on Canvas. Again, the exam will be posted under quizzes in Canvas. I have it set up, or I'm setting it up, so that you can take the exam on Canvas anytime between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Monday, April 6th. I did this so that to try to give you flexibility so that you could make sure that you had a quiet time and place to take the exam, and hopefully you can be somewhere where you have a good internet connection. And I thought that that's not necessarily going to be the same time for everyone, so I'm going to open the test within a window of 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Monday. But there's a couple important caveats here. You can't start early. You probably won't see it, but if you do see it and it's before 10 a.m., don't start the exam because that can lead to some problems and some glitches that we want to avoid. And everyone must finish by 7 p.m. So even if you get extended time through an accommodation through the DRC, you need to start the exam early enough that you'll be finished by 7 p.m. Okay, and so we'll talk a little bit about the amount of time that you'll have to take it once you start, um, and so on as I go through this. But just keep in mind that you can't start before 10 and you can't finish before or after 7. If 7 o'clock hits and you're still working on it, it's just going to stop you, and whatever you have completed at that point in time will be what is submitted. When you start your test, you're going to be able to see how much time you have remaining on your screen to complete the exam. The clock starts as soon as you begin the exam, and it ends whenever you submit your exam or when the time reaches 0, whichever comes first. Now, I've been talking to some other professors who have been using the quizzes option in Canvas, and they said that sometimes if students let the time run out, that they've been getting a false error message saying that there was a problem submitting their answers. But it looks like your answers are still submitted whenever the time reaches 0. But just to avoid any stress over that, I highly recommend you submit your final answers before you run out of time, just to make 100% sure that answers are recorded and you don't have to stress over it. So basically, when you're done, there's a button for you to hit to submit, and just watch the clock and do that before the time runs out, and that'll avoid any potential issues. The exam is going to cover from Lecture 10, where we started the Endangered Species Act, through Lecture 15, which is the end of conservation genetics, and of course all of the associated readings and handouts and other materials that went along with those lectures. For details on what's going to be covered, see the study guide that I have posted on Canvas for Test 2. The format of the test is going to be 30 multiple choice or true-false questions. They're worth 2.5 points each for a total of 75 points. You're going to get a total of 80 minutes for the exam, unless you officially get extended time through the DRC, in which case I will go in and add your extended time. So if you get 1.5 times, for example, you'll get 120 minutes. But for most of you, you're going to get 80 minutes. The exam should not take you anywhere close to that long. I put that extra time in there just so you won't be stressed in terms of running short on time. When you get to the exam, you should read each question carefully and clearly choose the single best answer. There's one single best answer for each question. And you will be allowed to go back to questions. In other words, it won't be just one question that pops up that you have to answer and then move on to another one. You will be able to see, I believe you're going to be able to see all of the questions at once, just like you would on a normal exam. But if not, you'll be able to go back to a question and think about it some more and so on. But keep in mind, your total time to take the exam is limited to the amount of time described above. So for most of you, that's going to be 80 minutes. So even though you have this window of 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. to take the exam, once the clock starts and you start the exam, you're only going to have a set amount of time to complete the exam. Okay, so again, for most of you, that's going to be 80 minutes. And just to reiterate, the exam should not take you anywhere near 80 minutes. I'm setting it at 80 minutes in case you have slow internet uh, or any other technical glitches that come up that make it slow down your progress in answering the questions and so on. This should give you plenty of time. Okay, a few do's and don'ts. You may use a simple calculator um, on the exam. You can't use a smartphone because it's too easy for you to have other information, obviously, on a smartphone, but you can use a calculator. I prefer it to be a simple calculator and not a smart calculator, but the main thing is that you use a calculator and don't use a phone. You will not necessarily need a calculator. Um, the only calculations that you're going to have to do are ones that I would expect that you could be able to uh, figure out the right answer without a calculator. But I realize that some of you would feel a lot more comfortable having a calculator, and so you can do that. You may not use your notes, your phones, or any outside resources whatsoever, and you may not use the internet to look up information during the exam. Treat the exam as if you were taking it in class. So basically, don't cheat. Don't, look up the answers and so on. Study beforehand. Take the exam just like you were if I were standing there next to you. Also, you may not take any screenshots or photos of the exam or share or disseminate the information contained in the exam or anything about the exam in any way to any other individuals in the class or outside of the class or to any of these corporations that post things about courses online, etc. Okay, so just don't get involved in doing any of that. Go in, do your best, take the exam, don't talk about it with other people, and leave it at that. And I just want to emphasize that you're bound by the UNCW Honor Code to follow these directions. Okay, obviously I can't be sitting there watching exactly what you do, but you're bound by the UNCW Honor Code to follow these directions. Okay, now if you have problems during the exam, one thing that you can do is, try to email me. The problem is with 70 students, if there are a lot of emails, then it may take me a little bit to get back to you. Also, with the window being from 10 to 7, I can't necessarily monitor everything the whole time. So hopefully we will avoid any major problems if you follow a few simple rules. One is to submit your test grade, your answers. Go ahead and hit that submit button before time runs out. If you do get an error message saying that it didn't, that your answers weren't recorded and it happens when the time runs out, don't freak out by that. It probably actually did record your answers. Try to be somewhere where you can have the best, most stable internet possible, and again, somewhere where you can have a quiet block to take the exam. Those are the main things. Go through the study guide, study ahead of time. Again, I've given you a lot more time than I think that you actually need, the 80 minutes to take this with 30 multiple choice / true-false questions. It's not going to take most of you anywhere close to that amount of time unless you have slow internet or something like that, which happens, and I'm hoping that giving you 80 minutes will give you plenty of time to deal with that. That pretty much covers it. Again, just make sure you go through the study guide well. Study like you did before for test 1. That's pretty much it. And I'm going to stop there. And if you have questions before the exam, send me an email. But hopefully this plus what I've posted on Canvas will answer most, if not all, of your questions. Thank you.